The Philippines was quite an experience. This guy in the background right here that just set the clock is a helper in the house, and they have people to wash your clothes, cook for you, do your laundry, do the dishes, drive, everything. Also, what made it a good experience for me was that there were chess players everywhere I went. And this is a game between my dad. My dad's playing the white pieces. My brother's friend's dad is playing the black pieces. And this opening comes out of a Caro-Kann opening, the exchange variation, where white plays pawn takes pawn in the middle. As you watch the game, I want you to guess, what do you think the best next move for white should be? And I'll give you a hint, the theme on this game is going to be pinning the pieces. As white takes out his pieces, he is looking for the best placement for his pieces, and with your bishops, the best thing that bishops can do are, number one, attack from a far distance, and number two is pin down knights or whatever it may be. Usually it's knights that get pinned down, and starting with white's next move here, where would you move? See if you can guess. There you go, that's the pin. That pins down the knight. If the knight wants to move, the queen will be eaten by the bishop. So now black is in a little bit of a tough situation now because his knight can't move. And if your pieces can't move, you cannot win the game of chess. So if you are in black's position here, it's always a good idea to get rid of the pin. When you are waiting for your opponent's next move, you should be using your time to try to guess what is your opponent's best next move, so that you can plan for your next move. That way you'll be one step ahead of thinking of your opponent. You'll save time and you'll see more variations. So now the bishop created a new pin on the pawn on c6. That's called an absolute pin. The pawn absolutely cannot move because that would put his king in check. And you cannot put your king in check in chess. Now I want you to notice that since that pawn is pinned down on c6, if you put another piece to attack that pawn on c6, that would put more pressure on the pinned piece. So whenever your opponent has something pinned, try to attack it. Put more pressure on whatever is pinned. In this case, it's the pawn. There you go for white. More pressure on the piece that is pinned. See, look at the pressure on c6. He's guarding it. That leaves the pawn on a6. Now white's ahead by a pawn. Now black's just in a really tough situation again. And now white dominates the whole chessboard. The bishop on f4 guards the diagonal. And black tries to fight for the diagonal, but white can just capture. Black will capture back on d6, leaving the rook hanging. In other words, nobody's protecting that rook on c8, and white is up by a rook and a pawn, and that's enough for black to lay down his king and resign and give up and say, let's play again. So next time you play a game of chess, remember to pin down your opponent's pieces, especially their knights, and then try to put more pressure on it after the piece is pinned. I hope you become a better chess player from watching this. And remember, every great chess player was once a beginner.